Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out for you and some pretty crazy news, all right? We're going to be talking about the United States Pentagon, okay, the Defense Department. And before we talk about them, let me just talk about this real quick. So there's this 60 billion aid package that's held up in Congress, right? Most of you probably are aware of that by now, especially if you follow this channel. And this money's held up in the House right now. It passed the Senate, but it's held up in the House due to a lot of political issues in the country, border issues, national security, infrastructure, things of that nature. And also, we have a funding problem right now that needs to get sorted out. So, this money's being held up in Congress. It's not going to Ukraine. Ukraine is backpedaling right now, having to fall back to defend their country because they're running low on ammunition. They don't have supplies, and I totally get they need help, right? Well, the Pentagon's got this amazing idea where right now they are weighing and deciding whether they should tap into their own funds, the last bit of remaining funds that they have to give to Ukraine, without any clue as to whether they're going to get this money back. Now, why is this so significant? Well, this money is what is used for the US military should something happen. We go to war or we need supplies for the military, whatever it might be. They're willing to go spend like basically every last penny they've got left to help Ukraine. And there's no saying that they're going to get this money back. They want guarantees from Congress that Congress is going to use part of that 60 billion to pay back the Defense Department. Absolutely insane, okay? Whenever I first heard about this, I was ready to just flip my desk and knock my chair over, that we are willing to spend our own resources, our own money for the US military and the Defense Department so that we can fund another country's war. Absolutely crazy. That's how we know that this is very important, okay? That's why I'm telling all of you to follow the money, follow where the money goes, because if they're so concerned about sending this money now, that's how we know that Ukraine is about to fall very soon. Okay, Vladimir Zelensky already came out just the other day at a conference, and he was saying that they need weapons within 30 days max. If they don't, they're in huge trouble here. Okay, so I want to go into detail here some more and talk about this. So this is on CNN. Pentagon considers tapping last source of Ukraine military funding as Congress stalls on additional aid. So it says here the Pentagon is weighing whether to tap into the last remaining source of funding it has for the military, for the U.S. military aid to support Ukraine's war effort against Russia, even without guarantees that those funds will be replenished by Congress. Can you believe that? They're willing to spend every last bit of money that they have. Obviously, something very dangerous is about to happen here if Ukraine falls. Clearly, if they're willing to spend every last penny they have, basically, to fund the war over there, it says multiple defense officials told CNN. So the Defense Department still has around $4 billion in presidential drawdown authority funds available for Ukraine, which allows the Pentagon to draw from its own stockpiles to send military equipment to Kiev. Their own stockpiles, guys. Look at this. But the Pentagon had previously been reluctant to spend any of that remaining money without assurances it would be reimbursed by Congress through the administration's $60 billion supplemental funding request, because taking from DoD stockpiles with no plan to replenish that equipment could impact U.S. military readiness. Well, yeah, that's for our military. That's not for another country. Why? How is that even a thing? How should they even be able to tap into that money? That money should be protected for the military and the military only. That's why we know that the U.S. is broke, okay? They've got to go and borrow this money to give to Ukraine. This money is not just going to be created from, the United States' own national budget. No, this money is going to get printed up and sent over to Ukraine, and we're going to pay for that. The taxpayers of the United States are going to pay for all of this. So, but with Ukraine growing increasingly desperate for U.S. military aid and Republican leadership in the House refusing to hold a vote on providing more funding, senior defense officials are discussing whether there is any financial cushion internally that would allow the department to spend at least part of that remaining 4 billion to help Ukraine fight Russia. No decisions has been made yet, officials emphasize, but the conversations about that option and other potential plan Bs have become increasingly urgent over the last several weeks as the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine has become more dire, the officials said. So we're going to be seeing some crazy maneuvers here from the West, primarily the United States, if this money really gets held up much longer than like another week or two. There's a big possibility it may get held up, but I have a feeling it'll pass last minute out of nowhere. But either way, this is not going to be good. Ukrainian troops have been forced to ration ammunition and have lost some ground in the east, including the key city of Avdiivka, which fell to the Russians earlier this month. Asked about the possibility of tapping into the remaining 4 billion, Defense Department spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Garen Garn said in a statement, the DoD continues to urge Congress to pass a supplemental to support Ukraine in its time of need and to replenish our stocks. So this has to do with our stocks too, apparently, with this whole aid bill. Officials said the department could go ahead and spend part of that 4 billion even without funding money internally that could be used to replenish it, but it would not be unprecedented for the Pentagon to find additional unexpected sources of funding. I thought it's funny how they put that in here, because there's been several times where the Pentagon's come out and said, hey, we found an extra $3 billion or $4 billion that was not properly allocated for Ukraine. Somehow it got mixed up in the bunch and we just found $4 billion. Like, who is in charge of managing that money? And if you're in charge and you lose $4 billion, how is that person not fired? That's my question. If you were to run a business and, you're like the manager or something, or, financing manager, and the owner finds out that you lost $4 billion on a company that makes $10 billion a year, let's say, they'd probably be very upset that you mismanaged that money, right? Why does that not happen in the United States government? It doesn't make any sense. Last year, the Defense Department announced that it had discovered an accounting error that led to DoD overhauling the amount of aid it was providing to Ukraine by $6 billion. Look at that, $6 billion. That extra money provided a cushion to the department that allowed it to draw out military assistance to Ukraine for longer than anticipated, CNN previously reported. Asked on Tuesday whether the department was considering spending some of the remaining money, Pentagon Press Secretary General Patrick Ryder said he had nothing to announce, but that the Pentagon was continuing to explore ways to keep supporting Ukraine. We're going to keep look at ways that we can support Ukraine in their fight for freedom and to preserve their sovereignty, Ryder said. Last month, however, Ryder spoke about some of the concerns the department had in tapping into those funds. At issue here again is the question of impacting our own readiness as a nation. Yeah, again, impacting our own readiness. It's only going to make the U.S. weaker by doing this. Why would they do that? As a nation, and the responsibilities that we have, he said last month when asked about the money. And so, yes, while we do have that $4 billion in authority, we don't have the funds available to replenish those stocks should we expend that. See, they're willing to spend every last penny. Look at this, like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And with no timeline in sight, we have to make those hard decisions. Yeah, they have to decide something like that very soon, because Ukraine is literally collapsing right now as we speak. They're falling back, they're losing ground, they have no ammunition, they have no artillery, they have no warplanes, they have nothing. They're having to fall back consistently, and look at this. The US government is panicking so hard right now that they're becoming so desperate that they're willing to spend their own US military's assets and money that protects the United States to protect a nation, the nation of Ukraine. Absolutely insane. A separate defense official told CNN that the next aid package to Ukraine, if it comes, will absolutely include critical munitions. There are also discussions about how and where to pre-position military equipment so that it can be sent as quickly as possible to Ukraine once additional funding sources are identified. So that's another problem there, right? And I've talked about that many times. Let's say this aid package gets passed a week from now or 2 weeks from now, but Zelensky said we need it within 30 days. So, okay, great. It gets passed in 2 weeks. You guys will have it on the battlefield. Well, no, wrong. It takes time for that ammunition and the artillery shells or whatever it might be they're sending to Ukraine, tanks or whatever. it's going to take several weeks to even get to the front line. They got to transfer everything over there and make sure it gets there safely. Okay, it's a lot of equipment to send over. And then it takes time once it gets into Kiev or wherever they send it to. It's going to take time for them to distribute that all along the whole front line. And the front line of Ukraine is gigantic. It's the whole eastern side of the country, and Ukraine is not a small country. It's a big country. So it's just absolutely, again, blows my mind that the things that we are seeing in the United States, and this should really upset a lot of people, that the Pentagon is willing to go and spend their own money, okay, for the Department of Defense and for the U.S. military to protect the nation should something happen, especially at a time where we have warnings coming out left and right. Please, if you are not subscribed to this channel, highly recommend that you do, because I'm putting out warnings every single day about countries in Europe and Russia, and there's just so many warnings coming out that war is about to begin at any moment between the West and Russia or another nation. And all at a time where all this is going on, that's when the Pentagon wants to make the US the most vulnerable. Why would they do that? It just absolutely blows my mind. Again, I cannot believe that. But, let me know what you think down below. If this doesn't upset you, I don't know why it shouldn't. This should upset every single American. If you're an American living in the United States, you should be upset by this, especially if they go ahead and do that, because there's no guarantee they're going to get this money back from Congress unless Congress happens to authorize it. And if they were to get it back in a short term, okay, maybe. But until then, the United States is going to be very vulnerable during that time that they don't have those funds. What if something happens? What if they need funding for something? It's just crazy, guys. Very crazy. Let me know what you think down below. Comment below. And if you enjoy this video, please smash the like button. And if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope y'all have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Everybody take care and God bless. We'll see you in the next one.